In November 2023, in a quiet rural town in West Virginia, a second-grade teacher noticed something off. A little girl, Emma, just 7 years old, had been wearing the same knitted hat for weeks. Indoors. Outdoors. In class. During lunch. Even in gym. Every gentle request to remove it was met with silent panic. Not shyness, fear. Real, visible fear. The kind that clings to a child's body like a shadow they can't shake. No one else seemed to notice. But the teacher couldn't look away. Something wasn't right. And when she finally convinced Emma to take the hat off, what she saw made her gasp, and reach straight for her phone. She dialed 911 without hesitation. What was under that hat would uncover a truth far darker than anyone could have imagined. And the clock to save Emma had already started ticking. This isn't fiction. It's based on real events. So, are you ready to find out what really happened? Hit like, subscribe and let's go. Emma lived in the hills outside Pineville, a fading town tucked deep into the heart of West Virginia. Life there moved slow, mornings wrapped in mist, school buses winding along cracked two-lane roads, and folks waving from porches like they always had. Emma was a quiet girl. Polite. Never caused trouble. She sat in the second row, always on time, always with that same faded pink hat pulled low over her forehead. Her teacher, Mrs. Alden, had taught in Pineville Elementary for nearly 22 years. She knew the rhythm of this place, the way children whispered secrets over crayons, how laughter sounded different depending on what it tried to hide. At first, Emma's silence seemed like simple shyness. Many kids took time to open up. But as days turned into weeks, and that little hat never left her head, Mrs. Alden felt something stir in her gut. A soft alarm. The kind you feel, not hear. Something wasn't right. It was a chilly Thursday morning when the routine cracked. During art class, Mrs. Alden walked past Emma's desk and noticed red blotches near the edge of her sleeve, just for a second, before the child quickly tugged it down. Her movements were too practiced, too fast. Like someone who'd been hiding things for a long time. Later that day, while helping a group with a spelling game, Mrs. Alden gently touched Emma's shoulder to get her attention. The girl flinched, visibly. Not like someone caught off guard, but like someone expecting pain. That moment sent a jolt down the teacher's spine. It didn't make sense. Emma's grades were steady, she never complained, never acted out. But the way her body reacted, like a trapped bird, was not something any child should carry. Mrs. Alden tried to shake it off. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was overthinking. But in her chest, that quiet warning grew louder. And something told her, this was only the beginning. The next few days deepened the unease. During recess, while other children chased each other through the frostbitten grass, Emma sat alone on the bench near the fence, her pink hat still firmly in place, her eyes scanning the ground as if searching for something lost, or avoiding something near. Mrs. Alden began noticing smaller things. Emma never joined group activities, avoided mirrors in the classroom, and flinched even when hearing the word home. On Friday, as the class lined up for music, a gust of wind caught the corner of Emma's hat, and for a split second, just a sliver of her forehead showed. It was bruised. Faint but unmistakable. The color of healing pain, hidden beneath layers of wool and silence. Mrs. Alden's heart sank. This wasn't just a shy child. This was a child hiding. She stayed up late that night, going over everything, every interaction, every red flag. The puzzle wasn't complete yet, but the pieces were beginning to fit. And they painted a picture she was almost afraid to see. It happened the following Monday, just before lunch. The classroom was unusually quiet, the sky outside bruised with winter clouds. As the students worked on their reading assignment, Emma leaned forward, and the back of her hat slipped just enough for Mrs. Alden to glimpse something that froze her breath. A patch of missing hair. Not a small spot, large, raw, inflamed. Scalp exposed. Not from illness. From pulling. Or worse. Mrs. Alden's hands trembled as she steadied herself on the edge of the desk. She waited until the bell rang, then quietly asked Emma to stay behind. The girl stiffened, eyes wide like a deer cornered in headlights. Gently, the teacher asked if she could look under the hat. Emma didn't speak, she only shook her head, violently. That was the moment Mrs. Alden knew, something was terribly wrong. She excused Emma, closed the door, and walked straight to the front office. There, she pulled up the school's visitor log and found a name she hadn't expected. A man, signed in and out, twice last week. Not a parent. No one from the approved list. Her pulse quickened. Who was he, and what did he want with Emma? The man's name, written in rushed, uneven letters, was Rick Dalton. A name Mrs. Alden didn't recognize, but one that set off quiet alarms. She took the log to the principal, who confirmed her worst fear: no record of Rick Dalton as an approved guardian. No calls. No explanations. Nothing. He had visited Emma twice, alone. And no one had questioned it. That night, unable to sleep, Mrs. Alden searched public records from her kitchen table. What she found turned her stomach. Rick Dalton had a history: an arrest in 2019 for domestic battery, charges later dropped. No one had flagged him when he walked through the school's front doors. The next morning, Mrs. Alden looked at Emma differently, not just as a student, but as a child in danger. She couldn't shake the image of that exposed scalp, the silence in Emma's eyes, the way she recoiled at every gentle word. This wasn't a case of shyness. This was survival. And suddenly, it wasn't just about noticing the signs. It was about doing something, before it was too late. On Wednesday morning, as snow flurried lightly outside, the school secretary informed Mrs. Alden that Rick Dalton had called again, this time, asking to pick Emma up early. Something in his voice had been off, she said. Cold. Pressing. Mrs. Alden felt her throat tighten. She walked straight to the office and asked them to delay the pickup. No excuses, just stall. Then, heart pounding, she returned to her classroom and found Emma packing her things. The girl looked smaller than ever, like she was folding into herself. He said it's a special day, she whispered, not meeting her eyes. Mrs. Alden knew, this was it. The moment that would change everything. If she let Emma leave, there might not be another chance. But calling attention meant risking her job, maybe worse. Her palms shook as she stood still, torn between rules and instinct. And then she chose. She locked the classroom door and called 911. On the other end of the line, her voice cracked. This child is in danger, she said. Please, hurry. Outside, a truck engine roared into the parking lot. Rick Dalton had arrived. The truck door slammed shut with a force that echoed across the snowy lot. Rick Dalton strode toward the school entrance with that same unsettling calm, like he knew no one would stop him. Inside the locked classroom, Emma curled into a corner, her breathing shallow, eyes fixed on the door. Mrs. Alden crouched beside her, shielding her as best she could, whispering that help was coming. But every second stretched like glass about to shatter. Then, pounding. Heavy fists on the door. Rick's voice, muffled but sharp, open it. Now. The office phone began to ring, ignored. Time slowed. For a moment, Mrs. Alden wondered if she'd made a mistake. If no one would come. If this man would take Emma and vanish into those hills forever. Then, sirens. Distant, but growing. Red and blue lights flashed through the hallway windows like a storm breaking through darkness. Footsteps. Shouts. The pounding stopped. The silence that followed felt deafening. Minutes later, officers burst in. Emma didn't move. She just stared at the floor, as if afraid to believe it was over. But in that moment, Mrs. Alden took her hand. And this time, Emma didn't pull away. The following days felt like a blur. Emma was placed in the care of a foster family, safe, for now. Rick Dalton was arrested, his past catching up to him in ways that sent shivers down everyone's spine. But the real miracle wasn't just the arrest. It was Emma's quiet courage, her trust in Mrs. Alden after all that had happened. The night after the police arrived, Mrs. Alden sat with Emma in a small, cozy room at the foster home, the girl now wrapped in a soft blanket, her head uncovered for the first time in weeks. "You're safe now," Mrs. Alden said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Emma's eyes, once clouded with fear, slowly brightened as she nodded. In that moment, something shifted. A tiny flicker of hope, like a candle's flame in a storm, began to grow. It wasn't a happy ending. Not yet. There would be months, maybe years of healing ahead. But Emma was no longer alone. And for the first time in a long while, the world felt just a little bit kinder. Months later, Emma was still learning how to trust, how to smile without fear. Her world had shifted from dark, closed rooms to one filled with light and possibility. Mrs. Alden continued to check in, offering support when needed, her heart swelling with pride as she watched Emma grow stronger each day. The town of Pineville, too, began to change. People started asking questions, looking closer, no longer ignoring the signs of quiet suffering. The ripple effect of one small act of courage reached far beyond the classroom walls. But the question remains, how many more children are out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to see the signs? Will we notice before it's too late? What would you do if you were in Mrs. Alden's shoes? Have you ever ignored something because you didn't want to believe it? Think about it. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Together, we can make a difference.